Hey everybody, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Lisa.
We're here to talk about kitchen equipment today. So we have a bunch of questions from you guys, and one of the first ones is, what's happening with Is It Bad? Which, if you've seen it, it's a kitchen series that we ran last year, a video series, and we're not doing any more of them. Yeah, it was great, it was fun while it lasted, but having to twist everything into an Is It Bad question, we felt like it kind of limited us. So we're gonna have a new series called Gearheads. Lisa and I are gonna do it together, and it's so fun. We've already started. We filmed 3 so far.
It was great. We had so much fun.
Yeah, what did we do? We sawed a cooler in half. We had the saws all out. We had some knives, air fryers.
Yep. Toasters. We made 1,000,000 pieces of toast.
Yeah.
Did all the shades of brown.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun things. It's going to be super awesome. All right, let's answer a few questions.
Yeah, what do we got?
All right, so, okay. So one of our last episodes of Is It Bad was all about thermal shock, which, will you explain what that is for me?
Yeah, definitely. Anytime you're changing the temperature really radically from cold to hot or hot to cold, you get thermal shock in the material. So a piece of cookware, if you have, like, say, a real hot skillet and you put it under the cold tap and you get that huge tower of steam, which is super exciting, really bad for the metal of the pan. Or when your rimmed baking sheet, you put it in the oven with a couple pieces of frozen food or something, and you get that sproing sound, and it's like warped. That's what's happening. It's cold to hot or hot to cold.
Yeah, extreme temperature changes. So the question is, this is a really good one. We got it from a couple people. They asked, what about deglazing a pan with a cold liquid? So this we do all the time to make pan sauces. Like, you've got some butter and shallots in the pan. You're supposed to add the wine or stock, and if the liquid is cold, is that bad? Is that going to cause thermal shock? Great question. The answer is no. It's not enough liquid, and the pan is being heated consistently, versus when you're taking a hot pan off of the stove, putting it under cold water. That's a really drastic swing. When you add a small amount of liquid to a hot pan, it's going to dip the temperature a little bit, but it's going to recover pretty quickly. So it's not going to be drastic enough to do damage to your pan. If your pan can't handle a little bit of cold wine thrown in there, then it's probably a really bad pan. Yeah. All right. Anthony Torres asked, is it bad to leave food on counters? Anything from butter to cakes to rice. Growing up, we'd leave leftovers on the counter all the time, but now I throw everything in the fridge as soon as it cools to room temp.
Well, generally, you don't want to leave things on the counter, especially if it was like a hot dish, a casserole or lasagna or something. After about 2 hours, if it's risen above the temperature, like if it's cooled down, but it's between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, bacteria can start to multiply. And that can become food unsafe. And, those are all the rules that we've learned. It's not instantly fatal, but you really want to let things cool down a little bit and then get them in the fridge just as you do.
Yeah, so it's kind of a best practice thing.
Best practices.
Not best practice. But, so that's how we do things here in the kitchen. It's very official, and like you asked about butter. A lot of people keep butter on their countertops and they're perfectly fine, but like you said before, spoilage, like your butter's going to go bad faster if it's on the countertop, so it's better in the refrigerator. Bread is fine outside.
In fact, you shouldn't put bread in the fridge. It basically helps the starches retrograde, which means it gets stale and tough and rubbery, and that's, a bad idea. So if you're worried about keeping bread, freeze it, and it'll be fine, especially if you then put it in the oven and it toasts up on the outside. I do that with baguettes all the time. Because you get like a little window of time when the baguette's perfect and then it starts to get stale. Wrap it right away, freeze it, put it in the hot oven, under the broiler, move it around. It's amazing.
I gotta try that.
Yeah.
So things like meat, dairy, things with eggs you want to be particularly mindful of. All right, next question. Rob M. asked, are the copper green fad pans actually non-stick or worth their price tag?
Oh boy, yeah. We both get super when people talk about those nonstick copper pans. They're not copper. There's no copper involved. Hannah cut one in half. We got one of these little copper test kits. We wiped it down. We'll detect if there's copper. No copper, right?
No copper.
No copper. So they're copper colored nonstick. You can make nonstick in any color under the sun. And they made it orangey, coppery color, and they call it Copper Chef, or I'm sorry to mention brand names, but...
That is the one I saw.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
But that is kind of a play on this whole idea of copper as a great chef's tool. Copper is a great skillet material. It transmits heat very quickly. It's responsive. It cools down quickly. But copper is super expensive. There's no way it would have a nonstick coating or be in a cheap pan. So, those are not copper.
The color denotes quality, which is why they're using it, which is very smart. But
It's all
typically
marketing.
those are very cheap ceramic nonstick pans. And the ones we've tested, we haven't tested them all, but the ones we've tested, when we did that thermal shock test, actually, the coating peeled away, like immediately, because they can't handle that from cold to hot, because the coating is a separate thing. So if they shock, they start to move in opposite directions, and it peeled right away. We damaged it in one round of thermal shock testing. So I've heard people say that they really like them. But they're not
it's a
gonna
nonstick
last.
pan, but it's not going to be durable, and it is not copper, so it doesn't have any of those wonderful chefly benefits of copper. It's just a nonstick pan, painted orange.
All right. So Matthew Zia asked, "Is it bad that I only have a hand mixer?"
No, it depends on what you're trying to do. A hand mixer is never going to be as powerful as a stand mixer. But for a lot of things like making a cake or something, sure.
Whipped cream, beating egg whites, stuff like that, a hand mixer is totally going to be fine. Once you get into the dough territory, like pizza dough, bread dough, bagel dough, that's when a hand mixer is not going to have the torque. Is it torque?
Yeah.
Torque to move the ingredients around enough. It's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, if you're getting into baking, including cakes and whatnot, the beauty of a stand mixer is it's hands-free. So you can, like, set your timer, watch it, versus having to hold the hand mixer the whole time, which for me, I actually get tired after, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah, and
holding
you
the hand
have to
mixer
move
up.
it around. I mean, a good stand mixer they have planetary action with the beaters where they basically revolve and travel around the circumference of the bowl. And so it'll move around and move that whole thing. Hand mixer, you're in there going, sometimes you hit it wrong and there's a spray. It's a little bit more hands-on, shall we say, but sometimes you don't really need that. You'd like to have something that does the job and has a lot of power.
Yeah, they're way cheaper though. So like,
Yeah.
What's our winner? Something like $50.
Yeah, it's
Our
really
winning hand
good.
mixers like $50. Our winning inexpensive stand mixers
$240.
$240, something like that. So
Yeah.
hand mixers are great for simple, smaller projects, entry level stuff. Not entry level stuff, entry level price, I should say.
Yep.
All right, Miles Lucy asked, "Is it bad to cook with extra virgin olive oil?" Funny you should ask. Lisa right here is doing a whole project on olive oil right now.
Yeah, I've written a couple stories on olive oil, just starting a new one, testing supermarket olive oil, extra virgin. Extra virgin olive oil has some extra flavor that vegetable oil lacks. But when you heat it up past a certain point, those extra flavors, they just are volatile and they'll fly off into the air and they're no longer in the oil. So it's this perfectly fine, it's perfectly safe, it's delicious, but you're going to lose some of that fresh extra virgin olive taste when you heat it up past, I think it was like, I forget what we did. We did a test where we tested at each level of temperatures and tasted against a fresh oil. But it loses the extra flavor and it just becomes vegetable oil. So if you're going to use it for flavor, you can cook in it and then add a little fresh back at the end for the flavor.
Sometimes I use it just because I don't have the other oil or I'm too lazy to go get canola oil. So
Yeah, and there's some myths around that it's not safe or something. It's perfectly safe. It's like, I don't know, it's just a waste of really great flavor if you have an expensive bottle of olive oil. But
yeah, definitely don't use like your really high-end olive oil to roast veggies or something like that.
you can, but then drizzle some on the end, fresh out of the bottle. And what are we going to do next?
All right, so Karen Brown asked, I have a question about pizza stones or baking stones. I have a square one, and because you put the pizza right on it, it stains, and mine is a nice shade of brown. Is that bad? Should I clean it, or even can I clean it? I don't think it comes off, and I sure don't want to submerge it in water and soak it.
Okay, you don't need to clean it. It's fine. It's a working tool. It doesn't have to look like you just got it out of the box. If there's any kind of debris on it, brush it off. If it's really dirty, sure, wipe it down with a sponge. If there's some old cheese stuck on there that melted and started to burn, get that off of it. But it doesn't have to be pristine. It's fine. And if you do soak it, let it dry thoroughly before you heat it up again, because you'll have thermal shock and it might crack.
Yeah, and once you crack a pizza stone, it's done for. You can't repair it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could just push the sides together and use it. It's fine. You'll have might have a little line under your pizza, and no one will know. But if it breaks into a bunch of pieces, yeah, you got some rubble. You got to start over.
Yeah, you should see ours in the kitchen. They're a total mess.
But they're fine. They work
Yeah,
great.
they make delicious pizza. All right. So from Daniel Marcus, how do I know when I should oil my cutting board? This is a good one. You can actually. They look thirsty. Thirsty's like what I think our coworker Mia just did a great story on cutting boards. And it's like skin. You can see it start to look dry and flaky, like mine is right now. But
or like leather shoes that look a little scuffed.
Yeah.
It'll look a little dry. It looks thirsty.
Yeah, you can see the top often gets like a little lighter than the surface underneath. And so that's a good time to oil it.
And are we out of time? Yeah, I think we have to say goodbye this time, but check us out on Gearheads.
Yeah,
we're
first
starting
episode's out on Friday.
Friday,